Today, we are diving deep into something that's about to pop up on AI systems everywhere, the EU's brand new trust mark.
You know that CE mark, right? You've seen it on your phone charger, your laptop, probably even your kids' toys. It's that little symbol that tells you, hey, this is safe. But what happens when you see that very same symbol on a powerful AI? I mean, really, should you trust it? That is the billion-dollar question we're going to unpack right now.
So, first up, a familiar mark, new rules. The EU is basically taking a symbol we all know and slapping it onto the wild, complex world of AI. And let me tell you, this is not just some cosmetic change. We're talking about a massive shift that's going to force every company, from the smallest startup to the biggest tech giants, to prove their most powerful AI is safe, reliable, and fair.
So what's the deal with the CE mark anyway? Well, for decades, it's been a manufacturer's promise, a declaration that their product hits all the EU's high notes for safety and health. You can really think of it as a product's passport. Once it has that mark, it can travel and be sold freely across all 27 EU countries, no questions asked.
But this is where it gets tricky, right? This is the huge puzzle EU regulators had to solve. A safety sticker makes perfect sense on a physical thing you can hold. But how in the world do you put that same sticker on something you can't even touch? You know, like a piece of software that's constantly learning and evolving.
And that exact question, well, it kicked off what we're calling the Great Digital Debate. Because let me tell you, finding an answer was not easy. It took years of intense back and forth, tough negotiations, and frankly, some really clever thinking.
And this timeline really tells the story. If you look back to 2021, the original idea was super simple. Just use a physical mark, like always. But then, in 2022, the European Parliament steps in and said, whoa, hold on, what about pure software? They pushed hard for a digital mark. That created a bit of a standoff, until finally, in 2024, they hammered out a compromise, a dual system that covers both physical AI products and purely digital ones.
Which brings us to our next section, unpacking the AI CE mark. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how this whole thing actually works.
So, the whole system really boils down to this. The law recognizes two totally different kinds of high-risk AI. On one side, you've got tangible AI. Think of a physical thing with AI brains, like an autonomous delivery robot buzzing down the sidewalk, or a smart medical scanner. But on the other side, you've got intangible AI, which is pure software. We're talking about things like an algorithm that screens job applications, or diagnostic software that helps doctors spot diseases.
And here's the elegant solution they came up with. For that tangible delivery robot, the CE mark has to be physically stuck right on it. It's got to be visible, easy to read, and permanent. But for that intangible, purely digital AI, the rules require a digital CE mark, one you can easily find right in the software's interface or just by scanning a code. It's a pretty smart fix for a really modern problem.
Okay, so you've got the mark. It's either physical or it's digital. Great, but that's not the end of the story. Not even close. The law says there's one more absolutely critical piece of information that has to be there, right next to the mark.
And this is it. A simple 4-digit number. I know, it might look like a random PIN code, but this little number is the notified body ID. And trust me, it is the key that unlocks the entire system of accountability.
To put it simply, this number is a breadcrumb trail. It's an audit trail. It tells anyone, you, me, regulators, anyone, exactly which independent group of experts checked this AI out and gave it the thumbs up. It makes accountability real and visible.
So, we know what the mark is. We know how it works. But now let's zoom out. Let's talk about the big picture. And Section 4, why this mark matters. Why should you even care?
First off, it creates one single market. An AI developer in Lisbon can get their product certified and know for sure that it can be sold in Stockholm, Berlin, or anywhere else in the EU. They don't have to navigate a crazy maze of 27 different national rulebooks. It just clears the path and levels the playing field.
Second, this creates one global standard for everyone else to look at. This is what people call the Brussels effect. The EU's market is so huge and its rules are so thorough that companies all over the world might just decide it's easier to adopt the EU standard for everyone instead of making different versions. This CE mark could literally become the international symbol for AI you can trust.
And finally, and maybe this is the most important part for all of us, it provides one simple symbol of trust. When you see this mark on a high-risk AI system, it's a clear signal. It's a visual promise that this thing has been through the ringer and checked for safety, reliability, and for its respect for our fundamental rights.
And all of this brings us to our final section, where we look ahead at the future of trustworthy AI.
Because, getting a new rule on the books is really just the beginning of the story. But look, this is a serious balancing act. The upsides are huge, right? Better safety, a unified market, real accountability. But the challenges are just as real. For developers, this is a whole new layer of bureaucracy. It could slow down innovation. And there's a serious question out there. Do we even have enough qualified experts to audit all of these complex AI systems?
So that leaves us with one last big, provocative question. The European Union has laid its cards on the table. It has built this massive, detailed framework for what it believes trustworthy AI looks like. It is a bold blueprint. The question for all of us now is, will the rest of the world follow their lead? Or are we heading for a future where the rules for AI are completely different depending on where you happen to be on the planet? The answer is going to shape everything.